Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. We are here for you to discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss dating, relationships, marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. So we are here live in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock. The water collects in a natural artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the cap. Fiji water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast, we thank you for your commitment and your support. We don't take that for granted. We are thankful that you continue giving on our app at New Life-Delaware and on our website on the contribution page at newlifeministriesinternational.com. There is a significant amount of infrastructure involved in being on the air 6 days a week, and we know that we could not do this without your support. So thank you for continuing your commitment and your support, and we thank you as we fulfill our commitment to God to fulfill His desire that you'll have a place to hear from God in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I'm going to begin by, first of all, saying to all of our listeners and viewers, I want you to be prepared. This week, the first Thursday of the month, we will have with us our licensed and our monthly contributor, Rebecca Buva, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist. Will be responding to all of the questions that you had sent in by communication previously during the month so that we can allow Rebecca to address them for us. And go on her website at beccathedietitian.com. You will see all that she has to offer so that you can become a client of beccathedietitian.com. She accepts Independent Blue Cross and Blue Shield. She accepts Highmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield. She takes Aetna, Medicare, and I believe there's one other, but I want to encourage you to go on and look on her website, beccathedietitian.com, and see how you can become a client. Take advantage of your insurance offerings to receive a nutritional plan, a diet and nutritional plan from beccathedietitian.com. But she will be with us live right here in 3D this Thursday, the first Thursday of every month, right here from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I also want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, okay, so we are in the process of expanding our platforms once again to include internet radio. So we're going to be on freeradionetwork.com. We are finalizing everything to be up and operable in the coming months, so just be prepared. Encourage everyone to tune in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. All of your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues, get everyone on board. We want to make certain that everyone has the opportunity to enhance the quality of their life and experience the fullness of God in our everyday lives. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you feel that you and your husband have outgrown one another. The children are grown now, and the two of you no longer have anything in common. So Let me first begin by saying this. That's not true. It's not a true statement. Are there some growth differences? Perhaps, but I'll get to those in a moment. You cannot just say that the two of you no longer have anything in common, because you have, first of all, the life that you've built, you have in common. That's the first thing. There's no abuse going on. There's no nonsense going on. There's no drama. So you have the life that you built together in common. Second, your marriage and your life that you built together in common. Secondly, you have your children in common. So you cannot say, and this is, everything begins with language, and this is why I want to make certain that all of our listeners and viewers hear this also. You cannot just say you no longer have anything in common, because you do have some things in common. Whether you divorce or not, you still have some things in common. Now, having said that, this is what happens when people marry without purpose. This is what happens when we don't understand what God has appointed and purposed for our lives. So you got married some time ago. Your children are now grown. Both of you are growing not only at a different pace, but you're growing in different directions. What you have to decide is if you can remain married, enjoy the quality of life that you built together, and still grow in opposite directions. Or you can sit down and decide that the two of you are going to focus on one purpose and one purpose only. That doesn't imply that you won't have things that each of you enjoy doing alone. It just implies that you're going to find a purpose that you both can believe in and pursue. The Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree? So what we have to determine, is there one purpose that we can both focus on that will allow us to enjoy the life we built together while still pursuing and enjoying those things that you desire to enjoy in life? Now, having said that, I want to make certain that everyone is on board, because I'm having a little technical difficulty here. But the point to this is, we have to recognize that when we get married, if we don't have the same purpose, the marriage is, in most cases, 50% of the time, let me just use that statistic, is not going to last. And the reason we know that is because the statistic shows that 50% of marriages do not survive. You both are growing at a different pace. You're growing at a different pace intellectually. You're growing at a different pace spiritually. One of the things that I have been saying since the start of this, since we went on the air with the broadcast, is that we have to marry on a mission. We have to date with a purpose and marry with a mission. Now let me tell you what that looks like, because this will bless your life and enhance the quality of your life. So we date with a purpose. We have to really be dating for the purpose of someday getting married. We date with that purpose in mind. We don't date for entertainment. We don't date for a free meal. We don't date for social activity. We don't date, meaning sport. We're not sport dating. Most of society is, but that's not going to accomplish the big and complete the big picture. So we have to date with a purpose. That's the first and foremost. And that purpose is to find out if this is the person that God has appointed for your life. That's the purpose for dating. Is this the person who God has appointed for my life? And now the way that I find that out is, are we walking together in agreement? So, do we have the same vision for life? And when I say that, meaning you may have and should have already developed a 7-year plan, 14-year plan, 21-year plan, 28-year plan, 35-year plan, 42-year plan for your life. 49-year plan for your life. That's something we should do from the time that we graduate from college, because we should be writing it while we're in college and trying to live it, trying to get an understanding of how to live it. But from college, from 21 or 22 on to 49 years, which would put you at age 70 or 71, you should have a plan for your life. And we write that over time. But having said that, if you're single, you are developing and living out the plan until you decide that you are going to marry. Then the two of you should sit down with your plans, examine your plans, and find out if it's possible to merge those plans together and then work the plan. How do you get to where God has appointed for your lives to go? So, I've gone through the scenario of how we date. Go to church together 3 times, go out to lunch together 3 times. You'll know at the end, you don't have to waste any more time or money. You'll know at the end of those 3 dates if this is someone that you want to, and you believe that God has appointed for your life, and you're willing to put in the work, the effort and the work to build, to establish, and to further a relationship. You'll know at the end of 3 days. We've wasted a lot of time and money dating people over the years who had no purpose in our lives. Now, I know some people will disagree with me because they'll say everybody brings something to the table. It shouldn't even get that far. Let them bring it to the lunch table after going to church and sit down and discuss it. You might know after the first date. You'll probably know after the second date. You'll definitely know after the third lunch date. And if you can't decide after the third lunch date, it's time to count your losses. It's time to move on, because it's not who God has appointed for your life. But when you have married, you have built a life together, you have raised your children together, you now have something in common. But you have to decide if you want to remain married, if that is the person that God has appointed for your life. Because we don't want to just be exercising our free will. We don't want to just be in a position to exercise God's permissive will. We want to be in a position to experience God's perfect will. So you can't just say you don't have anything else in common. What you have to decide is, can we determine a purpose that we can live out together? That's what you have to decide. Forget about all of what society has told us we can do, we have the right to do, and we can do what we want to do. Because that's really not going to enhance the quality of our lives. And it's certainly not going to allow us to experience the fullness of God. We have to allow God to walk us through the process. We have to know that we are in the perfect will of God. So I'm going to encourage you to sit down first of all and find out if there is a purpose that you two can fulfill together. And if you decide at that point that you're going to move forward getting a divorce, then the two of you just need to recognize that what you do have in common is the life that you've established together and for one another. Because when you go your separate ways, if you go your separate ways, you will both have the benefit of the quality of life that you've had together. The problem is then from that moment forward, do you diminish that quality of life? Do you begin to dim that light by going your separate way? And in that, you have to say to yourself, is this what God truly wants for my life? Because one thing that we want more than anything else is to live within the perfect will of God. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. You cannot have been a T-Mobile customer for the previous 90 days. We will then place you over into our queue so that you can become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will experience a monthly discount on your T-Mobile bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your parents just separated during COVID after being married for 35 years. Your father and your mother both at 60 years of age do not know where to begin with the new dating environment. So let me first of all say this. You've had a conversation with your father. Your father's telling you he's ready to start dating again. Your mother, you said, doesn't know how to date at 60 because there's a lot of traps out here. Okay. But here's the reality. First of all, your parents have to decide what is the purpose for separating during COVID. You know, God, you didn't say this in your communication, but God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life. So your mother's still in the house. Your father has gotten himself an apartment. They've separated. You know, there's some issues there because your father needs some good legal counsel. Well, both your parents do, but you know they have separated and not filed for a divorce yet. Okay. Both of them at 60 are going to find that dating is a whole different environment than it was when they were dating before being married 35 years ago. 35 years ago, they made a decision to become man and wife. And they lived that life for 35 years. Now, part of the issue is that they've been finding it challenging living in a pandemic. I get it. Let me make certain everyone's clear on this. The pandemic has had an impact on everyone in some way. It could be positive, it could be negative. But it's had an impact in some way because it has been a new dynamic for everyone. Having said that, making a decision to separate during COVID, and now your father has gotten an apartment, at least an apartment. You didn't say this in your communication. God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life. You invited him to come and live with you until they could work out all their dynamics. He made the decision to get an apartment. And he signed a lease for 1 year. That implies they have 1 year to determine whether or not they can get back to a place of emotional and mental stability before they file for a divorce. Because contrary to popular belief, even though you can drop the filing, you really can't unring the bell of the emotional change that occurs in both of your minds when you file for a divorce. You can't unring that bell. The only thing you can unring is you can take back the filing. People have gotten divorced and gotten remarried again. That's a whole nother topic. But the reality is, emotionally and mentally, it's going to have an impact. So before and I'm going to encourage you to encourage them to view this broadcast. But I'm here to tell you today, they'll have the rest of the 12 months of that lease to determine if they can reunite and restore the quality of life that they have enjoyed for 35 years. Because the dating pool can also be a cesspool. The dating pool is, if you look at the people, now we got to understand that, people haven't been out and about as much during a pandemic. But if you look at the lives of the people who are out there still dating, still hitting the clubs, still doing all of the things that the next generation is doing, do you really want to be out there at 60? That's what you got to ask yourself. That's the decision they're going to have to make. And they've got a year to figure that out. Because the reality is, first of all, your father and your mother are a young 60. To God be the glory. We're really keeping ourselves together as we get a little older. We're really trying to focus on keeping ourselves healthy and well. And yes, 60 can be the new 50, but you're still 60, which means you bring a lot of life experiences and a lot of life decisions to the table that, unless you're dealing with another 60-year-old, maybe 50 to 60, people are not going to be able to understand, and they're not living the way you live. And truth be told, they don't have the mindset to live the way we live at this age group. Now, I'm in my 60s, and I can tell you what I see from all of the communications that come in about young people and about people that, boomers, our generation, the millennial generation. There is definitely not just an age gap, there's a disconnect. Because the generation behind us is not the same as our generation. They don't think the same, they don't behave the same. It makes it a lot more complicated. Your parents have a year to figure this out. Encourage them to do so. Encourage them to really examine the quality of life that they built together and live out the best quality of life that they can possibly enjoy. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, check for their store hours, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. I'm in Charles Tyrwhitt attire today. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York, and they have a store at the Short Hills Mall in Short Hills, New Jersey. If you're in either of those areas, you can check for the store hours, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. Both Charles Tyrwhitt and The White Company, if you're not in their areas, you can order online from ctshirts.com or from thewhitecompany.com. Both stores will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your daughter is 16 years of age and no longer wants to attend church, and you want to know, how do you make her realize the importance of attending church? You know, you might want to share some things with your daughter. Listen, I can make it real simple for you and say, your house, your rules. That's a real simple answer, because you want to make sure that your house is filled with the Holy Spirit and not the spirits that a teenager might be able to pick up and bring back into your household. Okay. But having said that, you might want to do some research and review the research with her. You know, you might want to help her to understand, and that doesn't mean that she gets a choice. That just means that you want to help her to understand why it's so important to you that she attends church. And you can explain to her, when she goes off to college, she can make her own decision, except when she comes home. When she comes home, you'll decide what's going to be done in your household. But the reality is that, how about this one? Students perform at a higher rate, at a higher level, when they attend church on Sunday morning, or when they attend church on Sundays. They perform academically at a higher level. Students have less emotional and psychological problems when they attend church on Sundays. Saturdays or Sundays, whatever your religion might be, but I happen to know you're a Christian. You're not in my area, but you know, we in the communication exchange, you shared some concerns that you have. But you can address those concerns, because you can help her to understand that she'll deal with less emotional stress, less emotional issues when she attends church consistently on Sundays. You can also explain to her that the structure and discipline of being in church on Sundays will help her to prepare for saving money, investing, and building wealth that will enhance the quality of her life. If you're attending a Bible-based church, all of that is going to occur in her life. You explain to her that she will be able to elevate her life to another level over other teenagers 16 years old by attending church, who don't attend church, by attending church on Sundays. She's going to have better, let me rephrase that. She's going to have more significant college entrance options because she attends church on Sundays, every Sunday. You see, we as parents mess things up. Let me just keep it real with you. We don't require our children to train up a child in the way they should go, and when they grow old, they won't depart from it. We don't require them to attend church because we don't want to make them uncomfortable. We want to be their friends. and not just their parents. We want to be parents and friends. So we don't require them to attend church. It's different if they're working. But if they're working, you should also ask them to ask their manager if they can have a later schedule so that they can attend church on Sundays. There are things we can do to begin building a better quality of life, and it's better to start early than to wait until you're 50 trying to figure that out. Do some research and share the information with her so she will have a better understanding of why you want her to be in church on Sundays every Sunday.